Hey guys, Lethality Varus used to be one of the most annoying things you could actually play against in the game, like the poke build, right? It was so bad that Riot actually reworked his Q to try and stop you from doing it, but obviously Korea have found a way with the preseason. Just before we get started, there is a $500 RP giveaway down in the description. I'm doing it with a bunch of my YouTube friends. It's super simple to enter. You click the link and that's pretty much it. I try and keep track of what Deft is playing in solo queue, like a Korean AD. He's really good and he's been playing it a lot at the moment, but actually in the Kespa Cup, so it's a Korean tournament on right now. It's on the preseason patch and we're seeing it a lot over there. 7 times so far we've seen the Lethality version of Varus, and it's won 6 of the games, which is really good. To show you what it can actually do, I'll show you some screenshots, right? Def played it in their win. They did actually stomp the game, so take it with a pinch of salt, but 27,000 damage done by the Varus, and the closest was Rise on his team with 13,000. That shows you how ridiculous it can be. A 6-3-10 score game, 38,000 damage dealt. The reason I wanted to do a video on this is because Korea's kind of taken it to another level, like to make it even more ridiculous, I guess. Out of those 7 games, one of them was with a more standard non-poke support, which was Tarek, who's very good right now anyway. His team-wide ultimate is crazy for team fights, and he's good at protecting Varus. But in the others though, this is where we get a bit cheesy and we get a lot more fun, I guess. Xerath was one of them, Misfortune, Kennen twice, Bard, and also Karma. So this whole thing really works because of the preseason changes. Lethality Varus on his own is pretty decent, but I'm not sure. It's not like the best build ever. I don't want to say that. But with this setup that we're looking at right now, the poke support next to you, it's actually really, really good. And obviously it's working in these Korean pro games as well as solo queue. Let's look at why this actually works now compared to like before preseason where it's pretty trash, right? Games are quicker, so Lethality Varus is actually best mid-game, like most poke champions, especially the supports as well, and Lethality champions, they really want to play for mid-game. We have less healers in the game, especially supports. More poke supports to complement his early damage, like make his laning a lot more brutal to play against. These supports actually as well normally have really good mid-game damage, which kind of like buffs his own damage that we might lack a bit from his auto attacks. Mana flow band as well means Varus doesn't have any mana issues, which is so good. And Scorch and Arcane Comet just add to his poke damage. Arcane Comet especially is really good. With his E, you can't really dodge it because of the slow. But actually what most people forget is that it's got a really good 40% bonus AD ratio onto the Comet. So all of that lethality, like the AD from the lethality items, are actually going to be feeding into the Arcane Comet and making it do a lot more damage. But actually it swaps to physical damage as well for Varus because it's adaptive. So all your lethality and your arm penetration from Last Whisper, that is actually making your Arcane Comet hurt a lot more. I actually tried this a fair amount when Def was doing it, first of all, to see if it was any good. And like, it can be amazing, but it can really suck at the same time. If you get ahead, it will ruin people like 100% more than pretty much any other build. It seriously hurts, and there isn't really much they can do about it. But if you get behind, your damage really lacks. Poke doesn't mean as much, and I think it's kind of a bigger risk if that makes sense. If your team wants to poke though, and you have other poke champions, it's perfect. If they want to dive in and like full on fight and stuff, that's not really what this is built for. The way they do this and stuff is a lot more about mid-game power. That's kind of what you want to play for, group and poke. Let's go for the build though. So most don't actually start with Doran's Blade or Doran's Shield anymore when they're playing Lethality Varus. They go for Longsword and 3 potions most of the time. Some others actually go Boots and 4 potions. Then they'll move into their tier on the first back, but they're actually going to leave that as a tier and get that stacking. It stacks very slowly, but lethality and stuff like that is more important because we actually have to do some damage with our poke. So we go into Ghost Blade and then normally Dust Blade afterwards and leave it at that, just double lethality. But actually when you get those 2, your Q suddenly really starts to hurt. Finally, after that, we're going to actually upgrade our tier into the Mana Immune, hopefully transform that into Mirror Mana into the game, and then into a Last Whisper after that. The final item kind of varies, but like Mercurial Scimitar is pretty popular, though this is really popular in Korea anyway. Moving into Crit is an option as well. You could get Guardian Angel for more AD. One game, actually the pro game, lasted like 70 minutes, and in that one, he sold his Dust Blade and started getting Crit like an Infinity Edge as well to kind of scale into late game. Having some attack speed, though, is actually pretty good as the last item. I'd be surprised if a game goes that late though when you're playing Lethality Varus, honestly. Hopefully that kind of explains the Lethality Varus and why you might be seeing it a bit more, actually how to use it though so you don't suck, because it can be really bad, but it could also be really good if you use this particular setup with a different support pick, I guess. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like, subscribe, everything like that, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.